The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. What a day it has been in the political arena. And like I say, the reason I call it a political arena, because it's more of a circus than anything else. It's been a very busy day. We had Donald Trump in Mexico. We had Donald Trump's immigration policy speech later on the evening. We've got messages coming from aliens, according to SETI. And you know what? The world is still screwed up. What in the name of heaven is going on? Well, this is what I ask myself. And when I'm looking for sensible answers and someone that I can talk to these questions about, I call my good friend Howard Bloom, who is well known for everything he does. And of course, what can I call? I call it the Rosetta Stone of what is happening in the world today, the Mohammed Code. His website is howardbloom.net. And Howard, my good friend, what in the world is going on?
It's been a merry-go-round of a day. Donald Trump did something absolutely brilliant. The president of Mexico, Peña Nieto, extended invitations to both Donald Trump and to Hillary Clinton to come down and see him.
Yes.
Donald seized on that invitation and flew down because Donald Trump may have many flaws, but he has a brilliant sense of what will make a headline. Now, he's in a kind of he's been in a press lull, and that's because he has two new campaign managers, and over the course of the last 10 days, they have tamed him. So he's no longer been sending out these fiery, flaming emails every single morning attacking other people, often people that he's already beaten in the presidential, the past presidential, it's not election, it's the primaries.
Right.
They got him out of that habit, but it made him boring. And for 10 days, a campaign that you wake up every morning and turn on the news as soon as you rolled out of bed to hear what was the latest Donald Trump escapade. There were no more Donald Trump escapades. But this gave him a chance to pull off an escapade. Now, he met with the president of Mexico. He and the president of Mexico, who have two different accounts of what happened.
Right.
The president of Mexico says that as soon as Donald Trump walked into the room, he told Donald Trump, "I am not paying for your wall." And as soon as the meeting was over, the president of Mexico, who also knows how to use Twitter, took his Twitter account and twittered the fact that he had told Donald Trump that he was not paying, Mexico was not paying for Donald Trump's wall. Well, Donald Trump gave a press conference and said at the press conference that he didn't even bring up the subject of who will pay for the wall, that it was an introductory kind of meeting. The implication was much greater than anything Donald Trump could have said at a press conference. The implication was that by talking tough and by threatening to be a bully and by threatening to beat people up, Donald Trump has managed to get the concession out of the president of Mexico of inviting Donald Trump down to Mexico, which made Donald Trump look very presidential and as if his approach has a promise for delivery. And of course, Donald headed for Arizona to give his much anticipated speech with his immigration policy. And there's a brilliant phrase from Fox News that basically says Fox News couldn't even figure out what the point of the speech was because he said, quote, there were conflicting signals. So in a speech that was supposed to clarify everything and give clear policies, all there were signals, according to Fox News, and they were conflicting at that. Now, Charles Blow, who is a columnist for the New York Times, says that Donald Trump plays to whatever room he's in. So if he's in a room of people who want to beat the hell out of Mexican immigrants, he is going to pretend that he's going to beat the hell out of Mexican immigrants. If he's in a room with the Mexican president, he's going to be nice as pie and conciliatory to the Mexican president. Donald Trump has no underlying policies. And that seemed to be the case because the policy that had been leaked for the last few days, the immigration policy that had been leaked, first of all, it was consistent with the major news take on Donald Trump's speech tonight, which was he said that we are only going to let people into this country who will thrive in this country, sounds good to me, and who will love this country, also sounds good to me. But it's radically different from throwing out 11 million people on the spot. It's radically different than holding the Mexican president for ransom and getting him to pay for the full price of Donald Trump's wall.
So what do you think? Has Trump made the right decision by changing the people at the top and going in the new direction that his new handlers seem to have him going in?
They seem to have reached a compromise with Donald Trump. We will let you beat up on other people. We will tell you who to beat up on. And the person you should be beating up on every single day is Hillary Clinton.
Exactly.
So the approach that Fox TV has taken is they still are not enthusiastic about Donald Trump. So every single day they run as many headlines about Hillary's email problems, Hillary email, quote, scandal, close quote, as they possibly can. It's all an attack. Fox TV has become an attack channel. Of course, the CNN tends to be an attack channel against Donald Trump. Donald Trump has gotten discipline, but as a result of getting discipline, he's lost an awful lot of the vibrance of the headlines that he was getting.
Speaking about headlines, Howard, this just came in over the news wires. Hillary Clinton is now disliked by a record number of Americans. She is even disliked more than Donald Trump.
Well, that would be, I'll have to take a look at that because as of yesterday, she was disliked by about 36% of Americans, and Donald Trump was disliked by about 52% of Americans. This is much higher number.
Yeah, this is
which poll is this one?
This is from the Washington Post.
Very interesting. Well, it depends. There are approximately 16 to 20 different polls out there, and they all come up with different results. Was this Rasmussen by any chance?
I don't know. I'm just getting the headline on the ticker here.
Right. Because when I checked 2 hours ago in anticipation of getting on the phone with you, the Washington Post keeps an average of all the polls, and the Huffington Post keeps another average, allegedly, of all the polls. In the Washington Post polls, Hillary had been leading Donald Trump consistently over the last week by 5 points. Today, she was only leading him by 4 points. That's scary. So, in the Huffington Post poll, where Hillary has consistently been leading Donald Trump by 7 points, she is still 7 to 8 points ahead. And these are polls, these are averages of many, many polls.
Right, but you and I both know it all depends on who you're asking and what part of society, what the answer is going to be. So a poll can be as fixed as anything else.
Right, and people seem to be, the fans of Donald Trump, seem to be buying Donald Trump not on the basis of his policies, but on the basis of his attitude. They like the way he talks tough. They like the way he talks about bullying other people. They like the way he talks about intimidating other people. And when it comes to enunciating a real policy, as he did today, or was supposed to do today with his immigration plan, they don't really seem to care what a policy is as long as he looks and talks tough. They're buying tough.
Do you think the fact that Hillary Clinton was not the first to jump on the plane down to Mexico is going to bite her in the butt?
Not really, because Hillary had nothing to gain from going to meet with the president of Mexico. It's Donald Trump who's been making a major issue out of Mexico. It's Donald Trump who at every rally says, what are we going to build? A wall. Who's going to pay for it?
Mexico.
So when Donald does it, it's a headline because there's this big issue right in the middle of his campaign. When Hillary does it, well, she gets along with world leaders all over the country, all over the world. It's nothing new.
Well, of course not, because they put money into the coffers of the Clinton Foundation. Why wouldn't she get along with them?
That's another problem, and that is the Clinton Foundation scandal. Now, one of the difficulties, Fox News, when they were covering the Clinton Foundation scandal last week, was looking at emails and trying to make a connection between donations that the Clinton family had received and actual policy decisions that Hillary Clinton has made. They weren't able to find any quid pro quo. They weren't able to find any pay to play. And as a consequence, they backed off. Now they're not looking at that at all. And there was word that the FBI was about to release a new small batch of emails. They said immediately, these emails are rumored to be about Benghazi. Well, that's a good headline grabber. But hey, where's this rumor coming from? Are they really about Benghazi? So right now, the real substantive issue is, was there pay for play? Were countries like Saudi Arabia making large donations to the Clinton Foundation in exchange for having Hillary support their policies at the State Department? And even Fox News has not been able to find evidence of that link, that vital link that turns it from whatever it is into bribery. So remember, every political candidate in the United States is out there raising money constantly. And in the case of Jason Chaffetz, who is the a Republican head of one of the committees that tends to get down on Hillary's case a lot, Jason Chaffetz is very concerned about pay for play, allegedly. But in fact, Jason Chaffetz from Colorado is in the pocket of the military-industrial complex. He's in the pocket of the big aerospace companies, and those companies are fleecing America. There's a $1.5 trillion program, the F-35 fighter. And there have claims made that an F-35 fighter couldn't even win in a dogfight with a 1952 MiG jet. Now, I can't be sure that's accurate, and many weapon systems have looked incompetent at the beginning and then have been slowly improved until they do their job. One way or the other, this is a vastly overpriced plane. Jason Chaffetz gets campaign donations from big aerospace companies in Colorado in exchange for supporting them and supporting this fleecing of the American public. Now, I know the fleecing of the American public from the space industry, where I've been a major player or a minor player, whatever you want to call it, for the last 10 years, working with Buzz Aldrin and Edgar Mitchell and people like that. That's not so minor. Working with NASA and the National Science Foundation. That's not so minor either. And basically, the government approach, backed by primarily Republicans, has been to take a total of $36 billion and put it into a program called the Space Launch System and a capsule called the Orion. The Space Launch System is not even going to fly until sometime in the 2020s. The Orion, and it may never fly because it will cost $2 billion per flight and $36 billion to build. On the other hand, Elon Musk, who is an immigrant, 50% of our companies that are flourishing in Silicon Valley and producing jobs for Americans were founded by immigrants. And Elon is one of those immigrants. Elon is putting together a rocket that can outdo the Space Launch System. The budget is not $30 billion to develop it. It's $2 billion to develop it. The cost of flying it will not be $2 billion. The cost of flying it will be approximately $160 million. That is a huge savings. If NASA were buying, we have a Mars program. We can't actually afford it. It's only a program on paper. It's a fantasy. It's not a program that NASA can deliver, given existing budgets. But with existing budgets, NASA could deliver 16 Elon Musk Mars programs. That's where our money is going. It's not that we're not spending enough money on being strong. It's that we're spending money on what's supposed to be making us strong, but we're wasting it. We're putting it in the pockets of companies, major aerospace companies, so they can put it in the pockets of campaign politicians like Jason Chaffetz, who is doing pay for play, who is doing, in essence, what is bribery, who is enacting policies that are specifically based on those people who give him big campaign contributions. Has Hillary enacted policy based on the amount of money that goes into the Clinton Foundation? Even Fox News has not been able to find that evidence.
That doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
No, it doesn't mean it hasn't happened, because Hillary, for example, when it comes to Syria, you know that we've been talking about this for years, that the Syrian civil war is a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And Saudi Arabia, when they jumped into this proxy war in 2011 in the midst of the Arab Spring, wanted us to jump in with them. They wanted us to give training, they wanted us to give weapons, they wanted us to give money, and they actually were hoping that we would send some troops. Barack Obama was smart enough, he's not always smart, He was smart enough in this case not to let himself be trapped that way. But apparently, Hillary was much more in favor of going along with the Saudi program than Barack Obama. Now, is that because of Saudi contributions to the Clinton Foundation? We don't know, because frankly, the idea that we should have been on the side of the so-called rebels in Syria all along is very popular in many political circles, in many non-political circles in the United States. That could have been Hillary's independent judgment, but we do not know. We do not know to what extent Saudi contributions may have influenced Hillary's judgment.
It seems that as we get closer to the November 8th election date, more and more is coming out about Hillary Clinton that really isn't that good for her. Do you think?
No, none of it is good for her, and the spin that's being put on it. Remember, there's a spin machine at work here. There's a group that has taken Hillary to court in order to get the emails that she was involved with as the Secretary of State. And that group has been after the Clinton family since the middle 1990s. Well, the middle 1990s is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a long time. And the fact that they are able to continually get money from the huge contributors, people like the Koch brothers, who contribute vast amounts of money, in order to engage the Clinton family in a perpetual film of what seems to be slime. The question is, when you do something like that, where's the slime really coming from? Is it coming from people making the accusations who simply stick with those accusations long enough, you believe it no matter what? Or is there reality there? And that's not something we've been discovering. Frankly, if you, Rob, were made the Secretary of State and you were in the habit of using a BlackBerry in order to stay Canadian product, by the way, in order to stay in touch with the world, so that no matter where you were, you could continue doing your job, being in touch with people who matter, about things that matter, continually gathering new information, and continually putting out policy adjustments when they were necessary. I would tell you, do not use a government secure server, because the people I know in government who have to use government secure servers and other government secure programs are there. It's like they're trussed up in razor wire. They can't move. They can't do things that you and I take for granted. They can't go on YouTube. They can't check their Facebook. They can't do the things that keep you in touch with normal life.
So does this give her the excuse to use a private server to not follow the rules and the regulations of the United States government as the Secretary of State?
No, because those rules did not exist when Hillary took over as Secretary
of
State.
And yet Hillary Clinton claimed that it was Colin Powell that gave her the idea, and Colin Powell has come out dead against it.
Your voice is breaking up, but I think talking about Colin Powell, right?
Yes.
And Colin Powell told Hillary that in order to do his work effectively, he had to work on two different systems. He had to work with his own private laptop, an AOL account. Now, how secure, Rob, is an AOL account?
Oh, probably
AOL
more.
is old-fashioned. It's from 1988 already.
Well,
that's a long time ago. And yet, that's what he needed to do to be effective in his job. Now, Colin Powell has said he did not advise Hillary to get a private server.
Yeah.
And I'm quite sure he didn't. What he was simply telling her is, if you're going to work entirely within the government secure systems, you're going to be in big trouble and have a hard time doing your job. And that was before the level of email traffic and e-traffic in general was what it is today. So Powell pointed her to a very valid problem. I've seen that problem at work. You know that I'm co-designing a multiplanetary mission at Caltech. And the people I'm involved with are in the Air Force Research Lab, and they all have government, or either working in the government or they have government contracts.
Right.
And we needed to buy simple, inexpensive solar panels a couple of weeks ago. And one of the members of the team said, well, you can get them on Alibaba in China and they'll reach you in 2 weeks. And all of the people in the group who have government contracts said, no, we have government contracts. We're not allowed to deal with China. But for $16 solar panels, we're not allowed to deal with China, and they're the only people who make them.
Well,
they're the only people who make them because a guy named Ronald Reagan took the solar panels off the roof of the White House and stopped our solar technology development programs when we were ahead of the world in all of these things. That's crazy.
Well,
And
is
if you
it
want-
crazy? Is it crazy looking at the political arena and the political atmosphere between the United States and China right now? Come on.
Well, given the fact that if we're going to make this piece of technology that we've been working on for the last 2 years,
Yeah.
we're going to use solar panels, and solar panels are very basic to it.
Mm-hmm.
Kinds of solar panels that we need for our prototype are only available from China, again, because of a Reagan administration decision.
Where does NASA get its solar panels?
The Air Force Research Lab was hoping that it had some solar panels that it had used for a previous project that were extras.
Yeah.
They weren't able to find them. And I don't know where NASA gets its solar panels, to tell you the truth. But we have a severe problem because we crippled some of our own industries in the name of free enterprise.
Wow.
And that's, the decisions you make in the 1980s are affecting the possibilities that we have today. But one way or the other, the fact is that government systems like the Space Launch System, a rocket that will never fly, Rob, a rocket that will be too expensive to fly. We have a private industry alternative, and that's coming from an immigrant. It's coming from Elon Musk. We need to give a sensible look at how we are spending our money and make sure that we are spending it in the most cost-effective way and that we are truly taking advantage of American talents, because when we take advantage of American talents, we create American jobs. SpaceX's jobs are right here in the United States. Tesla Motors' jobs are not in Japan, they are not in China, they are not in India, they're right here in the United States, another Elon Musk company. Believe me, the Republican guys who consider themselves to be space champions in the Senate and the House have been doing everything in their power to cripple private industry when it comes to space, because they don't want it competing with the big boys who give them big checks as campaign donations.
So if the government is so corrupt and there's so much pandering going on and there's so much behind the scenes going on, wasn't Bill Clinton already part of the good old boys club? And isn't Hillary part of the good old boys club? And isn't the Clinton Foundation getting in a lot of money from domestic and foreign contributors?
Well, the fact that they have been pulling in money from foreign contributors is troubling. And the way to get to the bottom of it, the way to find out whether it's really trouble and not just troubling, is again to see if there's a correlation between the money that came in and the policy decisions made. Again, in Jason Chaffetz's case, there is a huge correlation. And we don't know. We have to rely on the press, and certainly Fox is oppositional when it comes to Hillary Clinton. They hate Hillary Clinton. They'll find any dirty thing they can possibly find on her. They're still accusing her of the Vince Foster suicide. But they haven't been able to find anything. And if they can't find anything, then who is? Somebody. Yes, we were promised with Barack Obama that Barack Obama would drive the lobbyists out of Washington. Did you see a giant parade of lobbyists showing up in refugee camps and trying to make it across the Atlantic to England to lick their wounds after Barack Obama came into power? No, he wasn't able to do it. He wanted to do it. He wasn't able to do it. Both Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump gained immense popularity in the primaries because they both basically said they were going to drive the lobbyists out of Washington and represent the people. Bernie Sanders did not win. Hillary won. And Donald Trump had to give in to his party, who said, you've got to go out and raise money. You have to have money to compete with Hillary Clinton, which means you're going to have to go to all the people that we've been getting money from in the past. So we're back in the pockets of guys who have big bucks, and that is not good. We have to get over it. Among things we have, Citizens Union allows huge amounts of unlaid money go in political gains.
Howard, we're experiencing serious technical issues with the audio feed. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break at the bottom. We're going to try and connect with you with telephone because this video feed just doesn't work. All right, hold on. This is the X, and I am Rob McConnell, and we'll be back on the other side of this break with Howard Bloom via the good old telephone as we continue live and around the world from our broadcast center right here in the beautiful city of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and yes, we have Howard Bloom back. And Howard, welcome back, my friend. We were talking before the garbling started about. Help me, Howard.
We were on Trump, and we got a big echo. But we were on Trump and Hillary, and there's another subject that's being ignored because of all the noise that Trump and Hillary are making, and that's what's going on right now on the Turkish border in Syria with ISIS.
What's happening there now?
Well, let's see if I can do it while there's an echo on the phone. Did I ever tell you about how Peter Gabriel once upon a time tried to explain to me how when you have an echo on the phone, you absolutely can't get two words straight? You can't even get out a full sentence. And Peter tried it on a mutual friend of ours named Larry Fest, who's this incredible electronic composer and player, instrumentalist. And within 2 seconds, Larry Fest couldn't speak. Then Peter tried it on himself, and of course, within 2 seconds, he couldn't speak. And they tried it on me, and it didn't work. I was still able to speak. So the other thing that's going on is basically that Barack Obama back in May 30th of a couple of years ago gave a speech it is getting harder to speak.
Howard, how about this? How about we take a quick break? We'll try and reconnect with you, and hopefully we'll get a line where there's no echo.
Okay, terrific. We'll talk to you in a second.
All right, Exonation, we're going to try and get Howard Bloom back here. This is the joys of live radio. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy some tunes. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Of about 2 years ago, President Obama went to West Point and he gave a speech. Whoops, there's that echo again, but it's not that loud. And he said, I thought it was a brilliant speech. He said that instead of putting our own troops in the Middle East from now on, we're going to find troops of people who have a genuine stake in what's going on in the Middle East, who are locals, and we're going to train them and arm them. Well, you know that the first time that we tried that in Iraq, our troops disappeared from the battlefield as soon as they arrived, leaving all of their weapons behind, tens of millions of dollars worth of highly sophisticated American weapons and vehicles. It didn't work. I thought that Barack Obama had a nice idea, but ultimately it was a failure. But apparently Barack Obama has something called persistence and the ability to analyze what he's done, see its flaws, and then overcome those flaws. So in the last 6 months, he put together something called the Syrian Democratic Force. And the Syrian Democratic Force involves Kurds and it involves Arabs working together to take Syria and Iraq back from ISIS. And it's been working. They have been highly effective, primarily because of the Serbs who have this, this that's where the echo is getting into the difficulty here. It's primarily because of the Kurds, not the Serbs, the Kurds. And it's primarily because of the Kurds who have this incredible track record of beating ISIS back. Well, the president of Turkey, Erdogan, has been trying to make himself dictator for life. And he's been using the Kurds as the enemy to frighten everybody in Turkey. And he's basically making war on the Kurds right now. So he has sent forces into Syria, allegedly to roll back ISIS, but in reality only to roll back the Kurds. And he is doing everything he can to pound and kill the very Kurds who are taking Syria back from ISIS. Which is not surprising because he has been one of ISIS' biggest supporters for the last few years. But it's very disturbing. Obama has made statements against it, which took courage because NATO is one of our primary NATO allies. But it's gotten very little attention because we've been too distracted by the monkey business between Trump and Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that this is actually a ploy of distraction, what's going on between the two candidates, and could they be part of a bigger picture that is yet to be revealed?
I don't think so. The fact is that who becomes president is vitally important to the United States. It's going to determine what America is in the world for the next 8 years and what America is in our lives. So there's a good reason to focus here. And you know that over the course of the last 30 years, the American Press Corps has scaled back its foreign correspondence tremendously. So we tend to be blind to what's going on outside of the United States. But if you follow French TV, if you follow the BBC, if you follow any of the Middle Eastern outlets, you'll see that this war of Turkey, which some people in the Middle East believe is to reestablish the Ottoman Empire. That doesn't seem likely to me, but nonetheless, that's a popular belief in the Middle East, is having a big impact because ISIS is dangerous to us and to the rest of the Western world. We should be fighting with everything we've got, not crippling the people who are effectively fighting it.
A few moments ago, you said the president for the next 8 years. What happens if the president that is elected on November the 8th doesn't get a second term?
Well, then if the president is a bad one, we may be very lucky. But in general, presidents do tend to get 2 terms in a row.
I don't know. I listen to Hillary, and I listen and I watch her, and something just doesn't sit right.
Well, it could be because of all of the perceptual flack that has been thrown up by this 25-year effort of what she calls the right-wing conspiracy. It actually does exist. Richard Mellon Scafee put $2.5 million into a group that was designed to do nothing but find any kind of scandal they possibly could on the Clintons early in the Clinton years. And all they were able to find was Monica Lewinsky, that's Bill Clinton being unfaithful to his wife, which is not a good thing at all. But it wasn't, it was compared to John F. Kennedy and his perpetual nightly jaunts with other women. It was nothing. What really counts is policy, and there's a bottom line here that I might have mentioned to you once before, but it's important not to overlook. And if I'm umming and ahhing a lot, it's because of the echo. But once upon a time, there was a president named Ronald Reagan, and he achieved a miracle. He created 10 million private sector jobs. Now, that's more private sector jobs than the population of small countries like Cuba. That's an amazing accomplishment. There's another president named Barack Obama who, in his first 6 years in office, created 12 million private jobs. That's 2 million more than Bill Clinton. There's yet another president who is the job-creating champion of all modern time. This guy created 20 million private sector jobs. That's nearly twice as many as the Reagan administration. And his name is Bill Clinton. So if it's true that there is a Clinton machine, maybe we need the Clinton machine in power.
But there's a lot of negativity that is surrounding the Clinton name. And, from what I see, people are sick in the United States of the good old boys from Washington. And what I believe Donald Trump is doing is giving the people back their country, taking it away from the Washington good old boys club and giving it back to the hardworking Americans.
Well, that's what he claims. But remember, Donald Trump so far has demonstrated that his actual technique is bait and switch. For example, he told us before the conventions that old-style conventions from both the Democrats and the Republicans are tired, boring, and produce nothing but snoozing. And if he got to be the candidate of the Republican Party, was going to totally redo the convention. He would have sports stars, sports heroes like you had never seen in your life. He would have superstars from Hollywood like you had never seen in your life. the entire event would be electrifying in a way that you would never have seen.
Right.
And then when it came time to deliver his major sports stars, do you remember who he delivered?
No.
Only one. Fran Tarkenton. And you have to be our age to remember Fran Tarkenton, and he didn't even show up on stage.
Mm-hmm.
He simply sent a very short video. That was it for the sports champions of all time. When it came to the superstars of Hollywood, stage and screen, do you remember who he sent? Or who he got, who he recruited?
No.
Scott Baio and Anthony Sabato. No, I'm sure that everybody that you know has posters of these guys hanging on their bedroom walls. No, they're unknowns, almost entirely unknowns. In fact,
Well,
they're
unless you watched Happy Days, everybody knows
Happy
Chachi.
Days, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't watch Happy Days, so
What?
Yeah. So to me, he was a cipher. But the fact is that you had a kind of high school level convention, and when you compared it to the extraordinary production values with the Meryl Streeps and Beyoncés and other superstars that were at the Democratic convention, the Clinton campaign genuinely was something new. It sketched a picture of her personality in a way that I'd never seen before.
Well, that's because they lied.
Well, I don't think they did, because they had, Hillary's campaign slogan was meaningless to me, which was something to the effect of, let's all do this together. What does that mean? It means almost nothing. But when she had people on stage from the military, 30 generals and admirals, 30 generals and admirals on stage at once endorsing her. When she had
but she was playing with a stacked deck, for God's sake. You can't take all this pomp and circumstance as legitimate when it comes to somebody who was married to the President of the United States at one time and still is married to the former President of the United States, and someone who was the Secretary of State for the United States, even though she was responsible for the death of a number of people in Benghazi, and she was responsible for lying to the FBI about her emails and email servers. So I don't give this lady any credibility at all.
Well, she put together a brilliant convention.
Well, she can afford it through the Clinton campaign.
Yeah, well, that could be, but it takes people skills. It takes the skill to recruit people. Donald Trump tells us that he's the magic messiah.
I believe he is.
Because, but he didn't manage to produce magic for his convention.
But he
hasn't produced any magic with his policy.
But he still won. He is still
yes, he did.
So whether he had the pomp and circumstances and the big names from Hollywood and the 30 generals or admirals, behind him, he still won.
Yes, he did. But unfortunately, I'm afraid that he will deliver in the White House the same way that he delivered for his convention. In other words, we'll get second-rate goods, just like we've been getting second-rate policies.
So what are you going to get? What do you see getting from Hillary Clinton? The same kind of crap that President Obama's been fishing out?
Well, first of all, the crap that President Obama's been fishing out has led to the fastest recovery from the Bush and Republican crash of 2008 in the Western world. We've been growing at a rate that far outstrips any of the European economies.
But what is the reputation of the United States and the rest of the world these days? It's not the superpower that it used to be. Nobody really fears the United States anymore. In fact, people laugh at it.
Well, not really, because if you look at the Syrian refugees, for example, cowering in their cities like Aleppo, they are still hoping that America can come in and save them.
Oh, sure.
They
also
still think that America can accomplish miracles.
Well, of course they would.
There's a lot wrong,
Rob,
there's a lot wrong, and there's a lot we need to get better. But we've been doing very well over the last 8 years, believe it or not, especially in terms of our economic growth and job addition of new jobs every single month. Our new medical policy has had major problems, and to make it better, we're going to have to see the problems and improve on them, not wipe away the entire system. There's a lot that can be improved. But Donald Trump seems to me to be a second-rate mind. In fact, not much of a mind at all.
Yeah.
The only person who thinks Donald Trump is brilliant and intelligent is Donald Trump.
No, I differ with you there. There's two.
Really?
Throw me into that ring with him.
Okay. Well, then you're a very, you're a person I highly respect, and you know that.
Yeah.
But and remember, I'm prejudiced. I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat my whole life. So we're only going to get the Democratic side of the picture here, even though when Donald Trump has done something remarkable, I've tried to credit him for it. I mean, he did do a brilliant PR event today by going down to Mexico. And it's an event that he can spin positively for at least another week.
But you know what? He's been right about the illegal immigration problems. Well, look what happened just the other day with an illegal driving a bus that crashed into a crash. The guy, there were a number of people killed, including the fire chief that was conducting the rescue operation on the highway that the bus crashed into.
Wow, that's appalling. Where did this happen?
Louisiana. They were bringing people to or from the floods in Louisiana. Speaking about which, where the hell was Hillary Clinton during the floods? Where was President Obama? You know where Donald Trump was? At the scene of the floods.
Well, he was down there.
Yeah.
Right. But the governor asked him not to. Well, actually asked Barack Obama not to come because he said we need every first responder we can possibly get to help with people who've been driven out of their homes and people who may still be in trouble that we can recover before they're dead.
But listen, as the commander-in-chief, isn't he the head first responder in the United States?
Well, not when you're saving people's lives.
George Bush went down to George Bush went down to the site of the Twin Towers.
Yes, but he waited. He did not go the day that the first responders were all rushing into town and trying to recover humans who might still be alive under the wreckage.
But he did go on television. He did go on television. He did address the nation. Obama did nothing about the flood victims. Clinton did nothing about the flood victims. At least Donald Trump had the balls and tenacity to say, you know what, Governor? I'm running for president of this country. I want the people to know that I do give a damn.
Right.
That's how I saw it.
More than that, because today I was doing a TV taping with a Muslim community leader who met with Donald Trump last week. Yeah. And what Donald Trump did in Baton Rouge and what Donald Trump did with a meeting of minority leaders last week in New York City is he sits down and he says, tell me your problems. And then he listens.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Hillary Clinton does that too, but it's a very important thing to do.
Okay. I just have one question to ask you.
Yeah.
Will Bill Clinton have the opportunity, will Hillary Clinton have the opportunity of having a sexual affair with an intern while she's in office if she gets elected?
I seriously doubt it. We're still a sexist society.
Listen, we've got about 3 minutes left. Let's talk about this radio message from outer space. What's your take on it?
Well, I looked it up. I read a few articles on it because you were interested in it. And first of all, we have Tabby Star. And Tabby Star, one of the experts in the space community, seriously believes that we're getting erratic signals from Tabby Star because there's a civilization around Tabby Star, and it's built in massive space solar power collectors, and those are accounting for the strangenesses in the signals that we're getting. When it comes to this new one, HD 164.595, Seth Shostak, who's with whom I've been on a panel, he's the head astronomer for the SETI Institute. He doesn't really think it's going to amount to anything, but he recognizes that it's his job to check on everything no matter what. So right now, SETI is using all the telescopes at its disposal to see if this is a replicable phenomenon.
Interesting.
Pick it up again.
Interesting times, to say the least, my good friend.
Yes, very.
Howard, Putting aside the political fun that I have with you, you are one of the brightest stars in the universe that we call Earth, and I am so glad that I have the privilege of calling you a good friend.
And Rob, you are a pleasure in my life.
Quickly let our listeners know how they can get a copy of the Muhammad Code. Is the new version out yet?
Well, the Muhammad Code comes out December 13th, and it's radically upgraded and rewritten to bring it up to date. And I think it's I've always thought it was an important book, but I think it's an even more important book now.
All right, my good friend, you and I have to say so long for tonight, but I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone, with or without Clinton or Trump.
Or Echo.
Echo. Sorry, should have done it. Howard, take care of yourself, my good friend. Be safe and know that you are highly respected and admired here within the walls surrounding the X Zone Nation.
Well, and I'm fond of you too. So have a wonderful night.
You too, my good friend. Take care. X Zone Nation, Howard Bloom has been our guest this hour. www.howardbloom.net. And I've known this gentleman now for over 20 years. My gosh. And you know what? He can kick ass when it comes to doing push-ups. He really can. What are you up to now, Howard, when it comes to push-ups?
Well, I'm all covered with mosquito bites, and so I've been weak. Today I only did 550.
Goodbye, Howard.
Have a good night, Rob.
You too, partner. Bye-bye. I'll be back on the other side of this break with Kevin Randall as we talk to Kevin about his new show here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, A Different Perspective. My name is Rob McConnell, and I will be back on the other side as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology right here from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Check us out online at www.xzoneradio.com, and you can also check us out on all the social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. Don't go away. We'll be back.